Hi guys. No.
Hi guys.
Hi guys, welcome to a new video. Today I have a special guest. My
Joey
fiance.
B. Joey B.
My fiance, Joey B, is here with us because we're talking about something that hits very close to home for him. So in this video we're going to be discussing binge eating.
Joey B. binging.
Joey was binging.
Joey was binging.
Joey is 80 days binge free.
80 days binge free.
So he's coming on here to share his story.
Let's fucking go.
And we're gonna hopefully be able to help some people who struggle with binging, binge eating, binge restrict. So, yeah. That being said, you can share your story.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm Joey B, fiance of Lark. I standing here in front of this camera, admitting I have struggled with binge eating for the past 3 years of my life, and it has completely controlled my life, and it fucking sucks. So anyone that struggles with binge eating, just know that you're not alone. And I'm a 25-year-old male saying I struggle with binge eating, which is embarrassing to say and admit, but it's definitely prevalent in men.
Yeah. It's just not something that people like openly talk about. So there's so many people walking around struggling that you just don't even know.
Yeah, and I mean that kind of comes to why I even want to make this video, because it made me self-reflect. Like, you would never think that I binge eat if you saw me or you know me. No one knows. I kept it to myself, and I keep it to myself still, kind of. But I'm going on about 80 days binge free, which is fucking great, because for the past 3 years I haven't gone a week without binging at least once, and that's really crazy to say.
I know. I feel like it was like multiple times a week for a while.
It was 2. I tracked. I kept base. It was like always Tuesday and Thursday.
That's so random.
Tuesday and Thursday.
Why?
The binge day. I don't know. I just had strong urges on those days, and it became a habit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've struggled for the past 3 years, and it kind of came about. I've struggled my whole life with food and eating. I grew up as a fat little chubby kid that would eat hot fudge sundae Pop-Tarts and play Call of Duty all the time, and drink a bunch of chocolate milk. So I didn't know I was binging technically back then, but I definitely was. And I didn't really think it was a problem. I was obviously self-conscious. I was like, didn't want to be a fat kid, but I loved food. And it wasn't until, well, how old was I? So 22, 3 years ago, I got really, really lean, like under 10% body fat for the first time in my life. And I had no issues with binge eating before that, for years. And I got really, really lean, and I couldn't control my hunger because I got so lean, and it gave me the urge to binge. And that one binge, I gave in, and it was great at the time, led to another binge, and then it led to another binge. And then a couple months go by, I'm not nearly as lean, and those urges didn't go away. And it's been 3 years now, which fucking sucks. It's probably all my brain capacity has gone to that for like the past 3 years, and it's been really hard to focus on anything else. And I've obviously kept our relationship priority. Still found ways to excel in like career and stuff, but I can imagine a lot of people like you that may be struggling with binge eating want to get out of it, because it really is like slowing down and taking away from your life and really making you not present. That's something I really struggled with. But I recently read the book called Brain Over Binge. Don't know the author. Laura,
I'll link it.
You'll link it.
I'll link the book. It's really good.
But it has transformed my life, which is crazy to say, because I think of myself as a very smart person. I love like research and knowing everything. And I couldn't fix binge eating. And I'm always the person that wants to fix everything. I want to get to the root cause. Whenever there's an issue in my life, I know there's a solution. There has to be a solution. I'm going to find it. Struggled for 3 years, not knowing what the hell it was. And the book basically says the main reason that we even binge to begin with, and why it's even a thing, is the urge to binge. And anyone that's ever binged knows that to binge, you have to get that urge. And it's a very strong urge that's really, really hard to, 1, ignore, and 2, not act on.
Yeah.
And this urge is crazy hard when you're trying to fight it. It's something I've struggled with. And the book talks about and explains why that urge is there and why it's so strong. And it talks about the brain. The human brain has 2 parts to it. So like the upper and the lower part of the brain. And this is just simple terms. I'm not like a brain expert. And the woman's not a brain expert either. But she talks about the lower part of the brain being an animalistic part of the brain. So it has all these traits for when we were cavemen and cave women. on how to survive. So like I was super lean, and it was like thinking I was starving to death. I didn't have food and access to me. But now and today we have a fridge that's a couple steps away. We have fast food. We don't need that function of our brain, but it will still fire off because
it's trying to protect us.
It's trying to protect you. It's a good thing. It means your brain is actually working right.
Yeah, it does.
Doesn't mean you're disordered. That's like another thing. You're not disordered. You're working perfectly fine. If you didn't have that function in your brain, you would starve and die.
Yeah.
If we didn't have access to food. And then it talks about the higher part of the brain being your conscious and understanding, how to make good choices and evaluating the pros and cons to every choice that we make and being you. It's actually you thinking clearly, concisely, and thinking through things. It explains to not act on these urges, you have to identify it's the animal brain, the lower brain. Before, whenever I had those urges, I always thought it was me speaking. I always thought it was this strong urge that I couldn't get away, I couldn't shake. I couldn't go for a walk, I couldn't put on TV and get that thought or those thoughts out of my head. And it would try to literally, tell me, it would be like, you just one more, just the thought of food, you need to eat.
You had such a stressful day.
Yeah, you're so stressed out.
You can just go to the gym tomorrow and do cardio.
Yeah, it's crazy if you've ever had these urges, the lengths that those thoughts go to try to make you kind of
act on the urge.
And what's changed for me is just identifying and knowing that those thoughts aren't me. It's the animal part of my brain. My brain is healthy and it's functioning normally. And just observing and understanding I don't have to act on those urges. But I forgot to explain why they keep arising after, even though I wasn't super lean, is basically when you act on those urges, you form a neurological pathway in your brain, like any habit that you have. As you act on those urges, you build a habit. And that pathway in your brain, it forms, connects, and it gets stronger and stronger every time you act on it. So this is 3 years of me doing this once or twice a week. Stronger and stronger. Those urges became harder to ignore. They came up more and more. And pretty much every time they came up, I was acting on it. Like clockwork.
Yeah.
So this is how habits form in our life, in our brain. And it makes a lot of sense. So any habit that we build, good or bad, is going to have those neurological pathways in our brain that get stronger and stronger. It's just how systems and how humans work. When you stop acting on those urges, that pathway gets weaker and weaker, and it totally diminishes. We've had that throughout our whole life. Whenever you replace a habit or you stop doing something, your brain literally just recycles it and throws it out like trash. So that is the best part about this book, is saying that you can stop binging today. I was reading the book and I was like, fuck, I can just stop.
It's that simple.
It is that simple. And it's not easy. It's super simple. But acknowledging that this is I was reading the book and I was getting so excited because I was like, oh my God. The next time that urge comes up, I'm going to be thinking about that thing like a fucking stupid animal telling me, eat, like a caveman. I was just thinking a caveman version of myself being like, eat. And I was like, no, you're fucking stupid. So understanding that has helped so much, and I've stopped acting on those urges. And by the first week or 2 weeks, I think it was 20 days in, the urges were just going away. I wouldn't have that urge every Tuesday or Thursday, or when I did have a thought or even a slight urge, it would be so much weaker, and I would instantly understand what it was coming and what it was. It was an animalistic thought. And it's been absolutely game changing, and hopefully it continues. It will continue.
Yes, it will.
But Laura wanted to talk about this and wanted me to make a video because she obviously coaches women, and you have clients that struggle with binge eating, and you don't really personally struggle with it.
Yeah, I can talk about my experience a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so I never had the whole hardcore urge binge type situation. So when I was in high school, I was just in the binge restrict cycle, and back then I didn't know what binging was. So basically all I would do was restrict all week, Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends I would just go crazy. I would get pizza, fast food, hoagies, Wawa, I would just eat everything over the weekend, and then I would go back to being good. So obviously I wasn't eating enough to the point where I got super fat, but when you keep doing those things over time, you are putting on weight. And I didn't put on a ton of weight, but because I was doing that, I was actively trying to lose weight. That's the thing. I was actively trying to lose weight, but I was putting on weight because I was in the binge restrict cycle and I didn't understand how to stop it. So the way that I was able to overcome that was by tracking calories and actually starting to understand the science behind weight loss and how it all works, and coming to the realization that I don't have to save certain things for the weekend. I can eat whatever I want when I want in moderation, because at the end of the day, it's all a numbers game. So for me, that it was a quick fix for me. I didn't have the super strong binge urges. So when he started having this problem, like, I really didn't understand it. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, why can't you just not fucking eat? Like, why is it so hard for you? Like, he would act like super weird for 2 days, and then eventually he'd be like, I binged. And I'd be like, I fucking knew it. I literally knew it. And I just didn't understand. I was like, because since I never had those urges, I was like, I don't understand how you just fucking go to the fridge and start eating food. Like, I would never fucking do that. Because I know I don't actually want to do that. Even if I am craving food, like, I have always been in the conscious awareness.
Yeah, so that's really big.
Yeah, like, being consciously
having
aware.
That understanding. And I'll say I do, like I said, I've had this whole entire time. I understand all this. I was an online fitness coach. I taught Laura like a lot of things about health and fitness, and like in like the scientific, more scientific study kind of guy in this whole scheme of things. And I knew what I was doing. I was very self-aware even when I was binging. So like I didn't have sympathy for myself. I understood. That's why I was hard on myself. I would be embarrassed.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what the fuck? I wasn't like, oh, I'm so stressed. Like that's why. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Something is wrong.
Yeah, I could tell how frustrated you were.
It was very frustrating. And I understand, like tracking calories. I know how to track calories. I know how it all works.
And he tracked every binge too.
Yeah, so I never ate over like 5,000 calories in a day. Thankfully, I know some people have like crazy issues.
Yeah.
And the author talks about like purging and over-exercising after. I never did that. I just accepted the fat. I'm too lazy. I was like, I'm not about to do a bunch of fucking cardio.
I would be the same way. Like, fuck that.
Yeah. So you can't restrict, and like you said about tracking calories and how you were in the binge restrict cycle.
Yeah.
A lot of other people get in the like kind of form a binge habit like I do by initially restricting and not understanding food and calories. And even though I already have the understanding and like I didn't restrict food groups and food types, I already built that habit and instilled that habit that it still continued even after I gained weight, or even after I was eating foods that I wasn't restricting foods. I was still having those urges. But it all starts by some form of restriction in that sense.
Yeah.
And understanding, and hopefully this can help people that don't have binging and maybe try to lose weight or anything. Because there's a lot of people that don't get super lean and they binge even though they're not super lean. It's just that urge initially.
Yeah.
And understanding the urge.
And it's also important to understand that there's a big difference in overeating, like over-consuming food, and binging. They're definitely different. Like, I have my days where I overeat, and I'm consciously aware I'm making that decision to do that. But for a lot of people with binging, it becomes unconscious and uncontrollable, and some people describe it as like basically blacking out, and they're just downing all this food, and then 20 minutes goes by and they've consumed fucking 2,000 calories.
Yeah. So binging's, the definition is eating an unusually large amount of food in a short period of time. It's way different than, you have like, I don't know, some people do on the holidays go crazy, and that can be a binge. If you're just naturally overeat a little bit, or you have like an extra meal in a day, that's not a binge.
Yeah.
Because if you feel
I think we need to like shed light on the fact that you don't know what's going on in everybody's life. Like, you see these people online and you think they look great. Meanwhile, they could be doing like 4 hours of cardio a day and having binges, and they're not talking about it. Like, you don't know what these people are doing to maintain their body. But at the end of the day, like, when I see people, I know exactly what they're doing to have that body. So it's also a matter of understanding what you're willing to do to look a certain way. And that's something that really helped me stop comparing myself to other people, because I was like, I'm not willing to do what they're doing. I don't care enough to get super lean or look like that, because I know exactly what that entails. It's no secret. Even if they're not talking about it, it's quite obvious when you have the knowledge. Yeah. Right?
Agreed. I would agree.
Yeah.
That's why everything you preach, I'm the same way. Like the minimalistic,
sustainable
3 workouts a week. And I did that, and I got down to I got really, really, really lean. Of course, I took it too far. But even getting there, wasn't going crazy. I was only lifting 3 times a week.
And that's the thing about body dysmorphia, too, is like when he got super lean, he still wasn't happy with himself. And he was like complaining to me, like when we were at the beach, and I was like, dude, you look fucking great. Like, what are you talking about? So like, that's another brain thing. Like, your body dysmorphia will convince you that you don't look good enough. Like, you're always going to want to look better.
Yeah, it's never enough. It's never. That's where the self reflection comes into with the book, talking about like being self aware, and I wanted to bring up the book, The Power of Now.
Oh yeah.
Like this is all so mental.
Everything is mental.
It's
It's all
so
mental.
mental in the brain. It's so interesting, but
I'll link that too. The Power of
is.
Now by Eckhart Tolle is life changing. Like it literally helped me cure my anxiety. No joke.
yeah.
And it just will shift your whole mindset and the way that you think about things. And it's an amazing book if you're looking to, I don't know, I guess like it's spiritual enlightenment. Like I don't know what you describe.
Just being
that book as.
self-aware and present, and the
Yeah.
fact that you're so unconscious. When you read that book, it makes you aware of how much unconscious stuff that you do during the day. Like,
Yeah,
you'll go through days on autopilot,
pretty much.
and like we're humans, like we're not supposed to be just autopilot. It's
Yeah, like
because of like
robots.
social media,
Yeah.
sitting in consumerism, sitting on your phone,
Mm-hmm.
always wanting the next best thing. But it ties into fitness and health so much.
Yeah, it does.
You're gonna notice if you read you read both of those books, or if you read The Power of Now, you're gonna notice, okay, why am I on my phone so much? You're gonna notice, why am I eating when I'm not trying to eat? Like you
Yeah, when
have
you're not
chips
hungry.
in front of you and you're watching like TV. It just explains. It helps actually be present.
Yeah, it's a really good book. I definitely suggest reading both of those books, and especially if you're struggling with binge eating, Brain Over Binge is I think it's a really great book to read, especially because I know a lot of people go to therapy for binge eating, and she covers this in the book, but basically she was in therapy for binging for years and it didn't do anything because they try to convince you that you need to fix all these problems in your
Yeah.
life and work on yourself. And not to say that it's not great to obviously work on yourself and improve your life, but it's not addressing binge eating because they don't address the urge, and the urge is the problem when it comes to binging. So this book really helps you understand where that urge comes from. And
I was so happy when I read that about therapy because I thought from the beginning that that was a whole bullshit thing too. I knew it. I knew it. When I was having these issues, I was like, there's no fucking way this is like outside stuff that is making me binge eat.
Yeah.
I knew it was the food and the urge, and I was reading it and it all made sense.
because he binged even when he was happy.
Yeah. So you binge when you're happy, you binge when you're calm, you binge when you're stressed, you binge when you're anxious.
Yeah.
It made no sense. I couldn't pinpoint when I was going to binge
Like a
or
trigger.
predict it.
Yeah.
There was no triggers. It was just like
The
a
urge.
habit and the urge that would arise.
Yeah.
So it is bullshit.
It's fixable. Like that's the great news is that you can literally fix this today. Like you could start practicing being mindful and practicing listening to your thoughts right now.
And I'll say the confidence that it gives you, understanding and knowing that when you don't act on the urge, it weakens it and weakens it. If I didn't know that, I would be like, holy fuck, when's this going to end? That was like the biggest enlightenment thing to me, is understanding that it gets easier the more that you don't act on it. Because when you're in that binge restrict cycle and you get that urge, you want to get rid of it. You just
Yeah.
want to get the fuck rid of it. And that 99% of the time leads to you binging because it goes away once you binge.
Yeah.
But understanding that it actually goes away and you never have it again,
Yeah.
and understanding that it actually goes away, because it's so scary to think, okay, if I just ignore this and get through a couple of days, being scared that it's going to come back.
Yeah.
Knowing that it's going to continuously get weaker and weaker is the best part of the book, and I lived through it. I'm like almost 80 days,
Yeah.
and I just don't have the urge to binge, and it's like I have so much more free time in my head, in my mental, like
Yeah, it's important to understand that you don't want to fight the urge. Like fighting it takes so much brain power and willpower, and it's more about just listening to the thoughts and letting them pass.
yeah. She mentioned in the book there's like a coping therapy about like riding the wave, like riding
Oh,
it.
yeah, yeah.
And I was like, she said that's bullshit, because then you're like, what if you fall off and then you
Yeah.
give in? She said you should be, instead of surfing a wave like a surfer surfing a ocean wave, like riding it and then it subsides. That's bullshit. Be the person on the beach watching the wave.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're just watching it, like you're watching
and wait,
your thoughts.
You have to do the clipper, the shaving your head thing. I don't know if you said that one.
When you get that urge, it is like the same thing. Again, it can't control you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like getting a razor and putting on your head and telling yourself in your head, shave your head, shave your head. You don't have to shave your head and you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with eating and food and being self-aware in front of it. You could stand in front of a cake or cupcake or a burger, and you could hold it in front of your face and say, eat it, eat it, eat it. You have the consciousness to not eat it. So
Yeah.
you are in control this whole time, which was is the most frustrating part. Is I knew that too.
Yeah.
I knew what I was doing, and it feels like you are somewhat unconscious, but like at the end of the day, you're the one that's actually putting the food in your mouth and eating it.
Right.
But you can stop it today.
Yeah.
You don't have
that's
to
the great
recover.
news.
There's no recovery period. Binging sucks. Joey be
I know.
binger.
Joey, don't be binging anymore.
Joey don't be binging no more.
No more Joey be binging.
Nope.
Joey does not be binging.
No, I'm going back on the fat loss game. Gonna get ripped again and not binge.
It's good. I'm very proud of you.
Appreciate that.
Very, very proud of you. And I also want to mention as well, like, if you're a dude and, like, you're embarrassed by this shit, if you're a woman too, like, this doesn't make you any less. Like, don't think of yourself as any less. I have never thought of him any differently. I don't care about how, like, of course I care about him taking care of himself.
Yeah.
And it was difficult for me to see him struggle with this, of course, but it didn't make me think any less of him. I don't love him any less, and I've supported him this whole time and loved him and encouraged him, and I'm really happy to see you finally overcoming it. I'm very proud of you.
I admit, like, I didn't want to ever tell you about it because it made me think that you would think less of me. Like, I'm not in control.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a drug addict in the same sense, or like being embarrassed about having bad habits. It's like embarrassing to like think that you're not in control, especially as a man. You obviously want to be like disciplined. Like, I always like pride myself on the discipline that I had before I started struggling with this, because I had such good discipline before, and I was like, holy fuck, where did my discipline go? It kind of makes you lose yourself and think really poorly of yourself if you tell it's like, how can you have any confidence if you can't follow through with what you want to, like you say you're going to do? That's what I felt, because I would always say, I'm going to actually I'm not going to binge. I'm going to feel good about myself. And then you give in and you get in that binge restrict cycle. So it really negatively impacts you mentally in your life.
Yeah.
So it's important to seek understanding and education on how you can get out of it, because you can get out of it. It's not like a long recovery.
Yeah.
And if you're a young dude, it's like the most embarrassing thing in the world to admit, but there's a lot of you probably out there. Like me, I'm admitting it.
Undercover bingers.
Yeah. Closet bingers.
Closet bingers.
Closet bingers. But yeah.
There's no shame in
scary.
it. There's no shame in it. You came here to get educated. Now you know. Buy the book. It will really help you. Obviously, we just tried to like summarize it, but definitely buy the book if you're struggling. If you're struggling with binging, definitely read the book, and it's going to help you a lot and change your life. Like, it has changed his life already.
Yeah. We're getting back.
Yeah, we are.
We're getting back, Joey B.
I feel like we covered pretty much everything. We can always make a follow-up video,
We'll make a follow-up video if anyone has any questions about like restriction and like food, like...
Yeah, we'll make a follow-up video if you guys want us to talk further about anything, or if you have any questions, we can make another video. So let me know if you enjoyed this video. If it was helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Would very much appreciate that. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and me having Joe on the channel.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's how I always end it.
See you guys.
Bye. Thanks for watching. That's it.
Joey be binging.
Joey doesn't be binging.